This is Printed and Pressed. I'm Chris.
And I'm Andrew. I need someone to come rescue me because Chris is weird.
This is Lord of the Rings. This is the worst version to read out of any version of Lord of the Rings out there. I'm just warning you, because this is like the paperback that like literally turns into mush. Like I just got a whole bunch of dust in my nose because I've never actually opened this version of the book.
The book is too large to be a paperback.
Anyway, yeah, I don't recommend anybody buy this terrible
hardcover
Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm still gonna replace this at some point. I just haven't. But anyways, long story short, don't sniff your books.
Hey, let's be honest. The average hardcover is actually not that expensive.
Don't sniff your books. Don't sniff your friends. Don't sniff your friends' kids.
Don't sniff drugs.
Don't do that either. Definitely don't do that.
Or you'll turn into Smeagol.
You'll turn into my precious. Anyways, I think that why isn't? Hold the phone.
What's wrong, Chris?
Rumble is not going live. Hold on, I want to make sure it's working.
It's because it hates you, Chris.
Nope, Rumble's working. I'm wrong. Sorry. All right. So Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. We've read The Fellowship. We read The Two Towers, The Twin Towers. No, The Two Towers.
Oh, goodness.
And now we get to read the worst of. No, I'm just kidding. We get to read the third book in the trilogy. And before anybody asks, no, I did not read all of the appendices.
Why not, Chris? I read them. Why didn't you?
Because I couldn't be bothered to try and read the appendices in this piece of crap. So I listened to the two. That were.
Why did you not read it in one of the hardcover? Why didn't you read it in hardcover?
I literally don't own a hardcover of Lord of the Rings. Believe it or not.
Why?
Because I don't. I haven't picked one that I liked yet.
He's trying to find the one that matches his shoes or something. That's the.
The one that matches.
He's being so indecisive. It's not that hard to find a copy of The Lord of the Rings to buy, Chris.
You're not wrong about that, but I'm not gonna just buy garbage. I'm gonna find the right one.
Okay.
Bro.
All right, we're gonna start with this one, Chris.
All right. Well, let's lead off with how much we like this Letters of a Stoic. No, I'm just kidding. How much we like this book. I have to say the book 5 really opens.
Give some of the details about the book, Chris.
It's by J.R.R. Tolkien. There's an extremely successful Lord of the Rings trilogy on Blu-ray that you all should buy and watch. It is one of the most famous fantasy novel series of all time.
How many pages does this book have officially?
My copy. My copy goes to page 341. My copy or 340. Mine goes to 340.
Actually, that sounds about accurate, even for the hardcover.
Yeah, it's not. They made the font really small so that the paperback would match the book of. Yeah. Anyway, so this book opens up with it, and actually what got me was the Shelob fight is actually in Two Towers, which is different than they break it up in the movies.
Yeah.
Although technically this is the shortest of the 3, so adding Shelob to Return of the King made complete sense for the movies. That's my opinion anyways, but
I'll say this. It might be the shortest of the 3. It does not feel like the shortest of the 3.
It feels kind of long because of the slog that you get at the end. Like the amount of chapters in the Shire. Like if all you've done is watch the movies, you're going to be shocked at the amount of chapters in the Shire that exist after.
How many chapters exist after they've won the war?
All right. Why don't we get through our summary before we do all that?
All right.
Let's see here. I like how he has a synopsis in the front of this. Like, oh, it's been too long since you read the first 2. Like, you're not going to just power through the trilogy. Here's a synopsis so you don't get lost into this third book. Does yours have the synopsis in it too?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I always love it when you print a map for something and there's the crease fold in the middle. Like, that's super helpful. Not.
You're criticizing a paperback, Chris.
I know, but this is terrible. All right, so book 5. Book 5 starts off with Minas Tirith, which is, for those that don't know, that's where the Steward of Gondor lives. It's where the tree of Gondor is.
Though, I have to say that for anybody who is only familiar with the movies, that Minas Tirith is way more intricate of a city than that movie gives it justice.
I mean, they just don't explore as much in the movies because you just don't have the time to do it.
No, because you gotta remember that the field in front of the city is not a field.
True.
It's actually like houses and farmland and stuff.
Yeah, like there's villages outside of it, right?
Yeah, with a wall that's supposed to be out past them in the field.
If you've seen Attack on Titan and you got the multi-layered walls, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, there's actually supposed to be, though, a wall that's far out in that field.
There's wall. We heard you like walls, so we put walls outside your walls, outside your walls. Yeah, I mean, like, there's this whole part where, like, throughout the fight, because it's not a long fight. None of his fights are long in the book. I mean, they're epic in scale, but they're not long. At least reading wise. And so you're watching things fall, right? Boom, boom, boom. They're trespassing through each of the walls. They're breaking through. And then the coolest, anyways, the coolest part in the actual fighting scenes is when they actually break out the flaming hound, or the flaming wolf, which I was shocked when I was like, oh, that's actually in there. Like, he describes it that way. But
I mean, I love how in this one too that the Rohirrim are given like the secret pathway to get there, because they're actually cut off from. It's not like Sauron actually forgot about them. He does take over a fortress and stuff that would make it where they could not easily get to Gondor if they were going there and everything. But
I mean, so like it opens up with Minas Tirith, and we're not in the battle yet.
Yeah,
and you get the opening, like you find out essentially, Denethor. You find out like Denethor's disposition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like asking Pippin, not Gandalf, to talk about stuff because he's trying to outsmart him into saying something he shouldn't. And Gandalf reads into this right away. So this first chapter really gives you the lay of the land politically, physically. It's an extremely smart chapter to portray the city, the ruler, and the people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into the. Go ahead.
I was going to have to add too that he's not anti-lighting the beacons.
Not in the beginning, but he does get anti-lighting the beacons when they ask him to do it.
No, they just light the beacons, man. They send out the aid immediately. They send out help messages for help right away.
I thought he was anti-aid beacons. Did I?
No, he's not.
Is that the movie where he accidentally lights the beacon by like falling on it?
No. That Gandalf has to make him Pippin go light the beacons in the movie. In the book, right. the whole process of sending out for like messengers and stuff, he just does that the second.
That's right. Okay, you're right. I'm just misremembering.
And so that's just a whole separate little thing they put in the movie to try to dramatize how like devoid of hope he is. Right.
Okay. The next chapter is Passing a Grey Company. So this is where, I believe, if I remember correctly, this is where Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas decide they're going to go to. Isn't this when they decide they're going to Army of the Dead, stuff?
Path of the Dead.
Yeah.
Road of the Dead, or whatever it is.
And one of the things that I was frustrated about is they don't show or tell you anything that happens in there until like halfway through the book, when Gimli describes to somebody else in a story how, like, what happened.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and it's also interesting because Aragorn is going through with all of his other rangers.
right.
It's
Instead
a
of just
large
the three
party.
of them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because in the books there are rangers, and it's not until the very end that the rangers are like nothing. They're like diminished. They don't exist anymore. Because again, Bree, they're like lamenting the fact that the rangers are no longer defending Bree.
Well, it's because they left to go to with Aragorn.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying though. Like, it's not till the end when you find out like, oh, they didn't return. They didn't go back. They stayed with Aragorn.
Yeah. They were actually so helpful to Bree, and Bree
Bree needed them.
Yeah.
Then you get to the muster of Rohan, and I don't remember this chapter very strongly.
See, the red arrow is presented to Theoden.
Oh, that's right.
It's not really the beacon; it's the red arrow. It's a little less.
This is where they meet that like tribe that's near the beacon, right?
No. So the red arrow. Well, yeah, technically. So you have the riders from Gondor show up because they have like a Pony Express concept, and they bring the message to Theoden, and he says, "We'll answer, and we're going to be riding." And that's when, while they're mustering,
and that's when
there's a lot of there's a lot of conflicting timelines. In this book. I think that it's that's one of those things people need to kind of keep in mind, because while they're mustering, the attack does happen. So there's orcs that go and take over like a fort that's along the pathway that the Rohirrim would have to take to get to Gondor. And while they're trying to navigate that, the the Stone Forest Tribe people or whatever, they basically like, hey, we know a secret pathway through the mountains.
Oh, yeah, the tribe
to get around the orcs.
You also get the ominous discussions on the Paths of the Dead between Merry, Theoden, and the tribes, where they're just like, nobody comes back alive from that.
Yeah. But
and then after you get past the muster Rowan, because that's where they decide like, oh, we'll get there, but it's going to take us more time, so Gondor's going to have to hold their own until we get there, right? And you get to the Siege of Gondor, which
before the Siege of Gondor.
Go ahead.
Before the Siege of Gondor, you are introduced to a lot of extra characters that you do not see in the movie, because Gondor is not the only, Minas Tirith is not the only city of Gondor that is under Gondor. There's other realm, like little cities and castles and stuff. And those people are all actually mustering to Gondor the entire time. So you're introduced to some different houses and stuff. There's like, what's his name? The prince. I forget his name.
Oh, Bell something. I know what you're talking about.
There's a prince.
He's towards the end too, because during one of the battles they're talking about who's going to ride to the wall, the Dark Gate or whatever. And
I mean, he's like the next best thing to Faramir and Boromir. Okay, like he's
one below them, who are one below Aragorn.
Basically, yeah. He's the next best thing. He has like elvish blood in him and stuff. So it's like they talk about his like whole aura. But yeah, he's like the third.
He also helps with the healing thing that Aragorn does.
Yeah, I mean he's a really interesting character, and I'm slightly disappointed he's not in the movie. To be completely honest,
instead they bring in Haldir in the first or the Two Towers, just to have him get killed, even though that doesn't happen in the books.
Right. There's also the one Gondor guard that is best friends with Pippin.
Yeah.
So those are two characters that I feel like the movie does lack. But like after you read the books and you really think about it, the movie not having them is, I think, lacking.
It definitely like lowers the attention to details from the book not having them.
Well, because that right there, I think makes the world feel richer. You know, having
there's more to it. It's
extra
not just
dynamic to
Legolas.
Gondor.
It's not just Legolas and Gimli and Frodo and Sam and the Fellowship. It's like there's other people that don't exist inside of the Fellowship.
Yeah, but it's I mean, what I mean by it also shows that the kingdom is technically larger than just that city. It's like a real kingdom. Because I don't think the movie does a good job of showing why those ships that Aragorn and them do eventually arrive on. I don't think it does a good job of describing the implications of those ships would have been.
Right.
Because that would have meant that those coastal cities fell. Because that was the whole reason why those coastal cities weren't supposedly able to provide reinforcements and stuff in the book. And why only that prince came with his one group of knights. So that whole section right there, I think, is just a really interesting thing. I know I'm sidetracking the summary that we're going through, but
when we get into the Siege of Gondor, right?
Yeah.
Chapter 4, and we kind of discussed this a little bit, but like the city's laid out much more defense and depth oriented with all the stuff it's got going on. And this gets into Denethor's mindset again, and you've got Pippin trying to do the services of Denethor, and Gandalf kind of hanging out.
In the siege too, you have Faramir's whole injury is totally different.
Yeah, I mean he's like on the verge of death, right?
Well, he was on the verge of death in the movie too, but it doesn't happen in Osgiliath. It happens in the fields.
Right. He doesn't send him out on a death march.
He sends him to hold the outer wall.
Right.
But
which makes more sense than going and retaking Osgiliath.
Yeah.
Like
but it's also I find the way he writes the Nazgul to be really interesting. Almost
the Black Riders,
you can tell that you can tell that he was kind of influenced by the World Wars when writing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because
absolutely,
it's the concept of like the shells and like when people get like they just go, they lose their mind basically.
Mm-hmm.
With fear because of the shells or the airplanes or whatever is coming overhead and attacking them. It's that kind of concept, right?
Absolutely. And then you get the like it really tests the mettle of a person to deal with a war, and Denethor fails the test. Just flat out fails it.
Well, that's because he uses the stone, the seeing stone, more than anything. He would have passed if he had not used it.
Yeah, he really screwed up. And then he put himself...
That was because, shell shock. There you go.
Shell shock, that's exactly what it is. You're right. Yeah, I mean, he really puts himself in a bad place by using that.
But that's because of Boromir. Really, his death, I think, was isn't that what it says in the book? That's what pushed him into it. It's
Faramir not being able to hold the outer wall, and he knows that like Gondor can't hold back the by their estimates they can't hold back the orcs from advancing. And so he just, instead of going out with the ship, letting the orcs take him, which he thinks is a fate worse than death, let's just take my own life honorably in his mind.
No, but when he first uses the stone, I think that was prior to.
I don't remember when he used the stone.
There was talk about there being like a flash of light and stuff up there in one of the towers. So it sounded like he used it prior to Gandalf and Pippin showing up.
He probably did. I mean, because one of the things they talk about is how there was a stone contained at Minas Tirith. There was a stone with Saruman.
I mean, there were stones everywhere, but like 3 of them were lost when the Northern Kingdom lost the heir. So the king died on that shipwreck.
So after we get through, after we get through the mentality of Denethor, then it just kind of describes the Siege of Gondor in all of its glory and horror. And I think, so doesn't it have Gandalf stand up to
The Witch King.
The Witch King, and the staff gets snapped in half, if I remember correctly, right? Oh, that's what happens in the movie. I don't remember that actually happening in the book.
It doesn't happen. There's a moment in when the Rohirrim arrive, right? Gandalf has to pick because of Denethor. He has to pick if he's going to go rescue Faramir or if he's going to go basically prevent Theoden from being killed. That's what he had to do. That was the choice before him. Because either he could go out there to help fight the Witch King, or he could go save Faramir. So,
but to be fair, he doesn't know for a fact that the Witch King will kill Theoden.
No, but he knows that if he's not there, the Witch King's going to be way more effective.
and additionally, you in the event like that, 9 times out of 10 you choose the young future ruler over the old.
Oh yeah, king. I mean, the Witch King could have killed a lot of other people too, honestly.
Right.
But that was what Gandalf was saying, though, is that he was needed out there.
But we're not there yet, so let's talk about that when we get there. The next page is the Ride of the Rohirrim, whatever the heck. And this is where you get Merry riding with Theoden and all the group, and they are attempting as fast as possible to get to Gondor. They're going over the East Mountains. I think this is where they discover the special path that gets them around the orcs, so they don't have to fight at that tower on their way there. They have a long conversation with the wild men. Mm-hmm. And then at the end there, they ride to Gondor through the special path. So that's pretty much what happens here. Then you get into the Battle of Pelennor Fields. That's when Theoden and his group meet up. And holy cow, look at how faded this page is. Like, look at that. That's terrible. Anyways.
Well, your camera quality is also terrible.
It doesn't matter.
For the audience who's watching.
It is. But then you get the great shot of the winged creature. That's when you find out just how big of a deal the Witch King is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I really do enjoy how he writes about the power of fear, though, in this battle. Because the Witch King and the Nazgul in general are just the shell shock concept to soldiers everywhere. Like, it's a pretty big deal.
And then I can't remember if this is Is this where the Witch King dies? I can't remember if he dies in this chapter or not. I want to make sure.
Well, what's the title of this chapter right after?
The Battle of Pelennor. Oh, wait. What is the next chapter called? Is it because the Pyre of Denethor?
Well, I'm trying to remember the order of events. I can't remember who dies on which one. It might be.
Now, in this one, you do get the Aragorn's army shows up, and the reinforcements for the orcs don't show up, which means they've already killed all the ships. They've already destroyed all the people on the ships.
Right. So then, he dies in the battle on the field then. Yep.
So we get to the Pyre of Denethor, and everybody knows this. This is like one of the most famous scenes in the movie. This is where Denethor and his grief. Go ahead.
Except he's also holding the stone.
Yeah.
In the book, he's holding the stone, so it's all like way more explicit of like what's causing him to go insane. So
Sauron is making him go insane.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is like he's going insane. He's gonna kill himself and Faramir. Gandalf steps in the way because Pippin.
And it's not just Gandalf; it's also the one guard who loves Faramir as his Lord Commander, basically. So.
One of those extra characters that didn't make it into the movie.
The extra character that could not make it in a movie, so which is disappointing because he's like Pippin's bestie.
Right. So they pull him in.
But still.
Yeah, they pull him in and boom, that's it. You know, I'm wondering though, because I don't see where she kills, because Eowyn kills the
Witch King. Yeah.
Yeah, which chapter does that happen in? Because I don't see it. Because then you go right into the Houses of Healing.
It would have been the battle on the field.
Yeah, it has to be. Okay, let me.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. I just want to get into this because this is interesting to me. Tolkien was very angry about. I don't remember which story, but there's a story. It's either Canterbury Tales or it's a King Arthur story. Basically, there's this person who says like, no, I cannot be killed by a man born of a woman or something like that, or and so the trick in the story was that the child was born through a cesarean section, so not naturally born of a woman. And that's the man who kills the person who says they can't be killed by a man born of a woman. So Tolkien said, apparently in an interview, says that always made him mad because he was said clearly it was demanding that a woman kill this person. And so he had the Witch King specifically say, I can be killed by no man, so that the reveal could be, but how about a woman?
Yeah.
Like he wanted that because he was so mad about, I don't remember if it was Canterbury Tales or King Arthur or something along those lines, but
well, I feel like we can't go any further in this book until we talk about the fact that Théoden has the most epic speech of all epic speeches. So
in front of the Rohirrim before they
right before the charge.
Yeah, he does.
I mean,
that's true.
And that's one thing that movie does so well. They picked like the best actor I could ever imagine for that role, I feel.
And rest in peace to that actor. He just recently passed away.
He just recently died, yeah.
But yeah, he did have an awesome, absolutely awesome speech. Is this the 4-line, right? The out of doubt, out of dark, the day is rising. Is that the one you're thinking of, or a different one?
Yeah.
I came singing in the sun, short sword unsheathing. To hope's end I rode, and to heart's breaking. Now for wrath, now for ruin, and a red nightfall.
Yeah.
Is that it?
It's just an epic speech, man.
Let's see if maybe this is it. More, not overmuch, mighty was the fallen, meet was his ending, when his mound was raised. War now calls us. You know what? He just keeps adding on to the speech. That's what happens. Like there's like pauses between, and then there's like, the speech is awesome though. He keeps adding more to the speech.
Also, like the Army of the Dead, I don't believe actually goes all the way to Gondor.
I was a little confused. So I think they do, because after, or maybe on the ships, he releases them though.
He releases them on the ships. He doesn't release. It's not at Gondor. It's before.
Because you know what's funny is
he makes it where the reinforcements of the other cities,
because there was a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right. Then you get into the chapter 8, which is the Houses of Healing. And that's where
I just want to point out that at this point, the story really does feel like it's over.
Because they defeated the army of Sauron.
Yeah.
But as Gandalf points out, even though they defeated the army of Sauron, good has its day unless they can destroy the ring.
Yeah. I mean, and then this is where they put together an army.
Right. And basically Aragorn says, like, it doesn't matter what happens to us. We have to distract Sauron so that the ring can be destroyed. That Frodo can finish the trip. So you get through the Houses of Healing. Let's find out Aragorn has this special healing power because, he's got the miracle hands.
Power. He just knows of a herb that's actually helpful.
Whatever. Anyway, him and some other people all have this specialty of healing, so they start healing people. And you find out some other stuff, and Merry's like, oh, I can't do anything. So Pippin's going to go on his trip with the rest of the group. And Merry stays behind, which makes Pippin sad. But then they get into a debate, and this debate lasts a long time. And it's all about, like, what is Gondor and Rohan going to do now that they've the battle is won for the day. What are they going to do? And this is a long chapter that ends in exactly where the movie ends. Let's go to the Black Gate. But I mean, it is a long discussion, and Gandalf basically says like it's hopeless, and they're like, well, if it's hopeless, why would we go? He's like, because it's not all hope is lost. It's like, what? Make up your mind, old man.
Yeah. So then they
imagine
a good army, man.
Imagine trying to figure out what the heck Gandalf's saying in this particular case.
Which, just saying about the size of the army they get, though, they're just like, this isn't even like one regiment of what Gondor was in its prime.
Right. Yeah, no,
it was
no
just like,
doubt.
oh my goodness.
So
I think that's lost on everybody when you're just like, yeah, this used to be a very populated kingdom.
So yeah, that's
and then we get into the next book of the book.
Where the Black Gate opens. That's when the mouth comes out, the creepy orc thing.
Oh, just show the stuff.
But this is important because this is where they walk out with Frodo's chainmail, and they're like, "Your buddy's dead." And then Gandalf says, "Okay, put up or shut up. Where's Frodo?" And they don't bring him out, and he's like, "All right, they're lying. Let's fight."
I mean, they were going to fight anyway. What are you talking about?
Most likely, but I'm just saying, like, the point of it, in my mind, was to prove that hope's not lost. Frodo's still on the journey. And, because of that, they can fight on.
Yeah. And then we cut to Frodo.
Yes.
And Sam.
And then it gets really boring.
And then it gets very boring for a very long period of time because Frodo's rescued by Sam, right? One of the guys gets away. They have these weird magic gargoyles that guard the stupid keep.
The Watchers.
The Watchers.
Hey, by the way, those Watchers are in the video game and the movie, and they do nothing.
They do absolutely nothing, yeah. But they basically are like a door that wants to keep them out or in. But
right.
They dress up as orcs.
Well, first off, Sam goes to rescue Frodo.
Yeah.
And in the process of doing it, he discovers a tower of orcs where they all killed each other because orcs can't. They're a bunch of communists and they all fight each other.
I mean, the movie basically depicts this one pretty well. They start a fight with each other. Sam kills like one orc.
Right. And his shadow being so big from the light scares one of the orcs.
And then
I love how he starts singing to himself while he's going up the tower. And then Frodo must be singing along with him because the orc goes up and like beats the crap out of him. Like, stop singing!
No. He thought Sam was Frodo, so he goes and
beats up Frodo.
Yeah, he goes to beat up Frodo. That's how Sam finds Frodo. He's like, oh shoot, I never thought to look in the ceiling for any trap doors, But then that's how he gets to Frodo. Then they leave.
And they're like, let's drink this black trickling water because we're so thirsty. I'm like, oh God.
They're desperate.
Microplastics, bro. I'm just kidding.
But like
and then when they're like completely out of breath and like dying, then the orcs like, get in line, maggots.
Well, yeah, they're chilling on the side of the road, like, oh, don't notice us. And they have the shields that have an insignia on it, and the one orc that's whipping other little orcs to go along faster is like, you two, I know you. You guys why are you trying to desert or something? Get in line. And then he just whips these two across you know what? Thank God for that orc.
He got them closer. Yeah.
Because he got them so much closer at record time. The way Tolkien was writing those two, they would have just been like, I wish I had water for the next like 400 pages when he has to write a second book.
I had water.
No, but like that's literally the entire journey of Sam and Frodo through Mordor. At that point, it's just the most whining I've ever read.
Oh yeah, tons of whining.
So much whining.
Master Frodo. Although the actor did a great job. Like the guy
Oh
who
yeah,
played Sam was awesome.
And then Sam has to carry Frodo still, and it's like, okay.
So they get to Mount Doom, and then they get, they basically sneak in. They realize Gollum's not dead. And then they get to the, middle of the volcano, like the movie depicts it. Like
also,
Frodo,
he never pushes Gollum in. Gollum just falls.
Yeah, that was his role to play, I guess.
No, I'm saying that he just falls. Like Frodo doesn't even push him over the edge. Like he literally just falls when he's bragging about taking the ring.
Precious. Yeah.
Yeah.
He stepped too far, toppled, wavered for a moment on the brink. Then with a shriek, he fell. Out of the depths came his last wail. Precious.
I gotta say though, I like that Peter Jackson made Frodo push him in anger. Like that's like a redeeming thing that he did to Frodo.
But the thing is, like, the whole point is he showed mercy, and the mercy he showed led to the ring being destroyed.
Yeah,
because Gollum showed up. I disagree. I don't think it's good that Peter Jackson did what he did.
What that he?
It makes for good entertainment, but
I don't know, man. I think it makes Frodo less a bitch.
And then they walk out, and then the eagles show up, just like in the movie.
Yeah, I love how we were able to just breeze through this, but it's literally one of the longest parts of this entire book.
I know it's whatever.
It is one of the longest slogs of reading, just because.
Listen, man, I want to make sure that I don't run out of time to talk about the story, and you keep slowing down.
I'm sorry.
All right, so the steward and the king. Then you get into the city of Gondor and everything else, right? And
they finally make Aragorn king and everything.
Right.
He finds a new sapling for the tree, the white tree.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of politics.
Then you get to the many partings. It's like everybody says goodbye. Da 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 da.
Yeah, Gimli and Legolas go explore Fangorn and the crystal cave, whatever.
Oh, they left Bilbo. Yeah, that's right. I forgot they left Bilbo there. Then they go home. And that's when you find out all the stuff that went down in the Shire.
Saruman is there. He turned it into
we're on
a prison camp.
This is 290, right? It's like the book itself is 340 pages. So we're talking he's going home and there's still 50 pages in a 340-page book. Like, that's not a short amount of time left. So
no, it's a lot. It is a lot. And so the hobbits are being hobbits.
Well, they want to be hobbits. So they go through Bree, and they find out that Bree is not doing well because, the Rangers stopped defending it. And so they're like, okay, we'll help you.
They actually do run into Saruman on the road.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because they talked to him before that. I forgot about that. Yeah.
But then they go and chill at Riverdale. For way too long. So Rivendell. So
and then you get the stupidest chapter in the whole book, the scouring of the Shire. It just shows that like a peaceful village cannot just escape by being peaceful during a war.
Yeah.
Especially when you leave somebody like Saruman alive.
Yeah.
Basically, Saruman decides his name's Sharky now. He gathers up a bunch of crazy people. And
no, it's his people that worked at Isengard.
And he just basically ruins the Shire. Like, he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna spite these people.
Hey, but Sam has his magic garden seeds. Okay,
he does. Galadriel gave
so
those to him.
He goes and he plants a shit ton of trees. He plants one of the Lorien trees with the yellow golden flower leaves. And
anyway, the hobbits who never fight anything somehow amass enough of an army to fight off a bunch of thieves. Although it's
they're led by Merry and Pippin.
Yeah, the two best hobbits.
The giants that they are now after drinking ant water.
Right.
But no.
Anyway, so the Scouring the Shire was like something. It's not in the movie. So like, if you've never read the books, like this is brand new. This will be something you've never seen before.
You might like it or you might hate it. One of the two. But
I just felt like it dragged on too long. I don't mind the lesson in it because there's a good lesson in it. Like, hey,
it's a good lesson. Yeah.
You can only avoid war until it hits your doorstep, and then you can't. So like the hobbits, they tried to avoid it even up to their doorstep, and they end up being enslaved by Saruman.
I mean, in fairness, hobbits never really always avoided war. That's like
most of them did.
No, that was like a modern invention of the hobbits.
If you're trying to base this on the Rings of Power, bro, like, no, I'm just kidding.
No, I was basing it off of the fact that the Took would be the Thane or whatever he was called would always have
defended his sovereign land.
Yeah, he always offered like bowmen and stuff to the king during conflicts.
That's true. Yeah.
So they had a legit army at one point of sorts. It was just Tooks.
So,
which,
question.
by the way, the Tooks are the only group who aren't conquered in this.
They are kind of bad.
They're just killing. They're kind of assholes, actually. But
that's true too. But.
They're just shooting at anyone that Saruman sends on their side of the Shire. They're just like,
you know what? And I agree they should, anyways.
Yeah, it was one of these things where one of the hobbits was described as like, well, things weren't like so brutal and oppressive
until the Tooks started fighting,
and then the Tooks started shooting people. It was just like, yeah, that's the Tooks, all right.
Oh, like, oh yeah, the crazy uncles, they're going at it.
Yeah, they tried to go demand things from them, and they got told otherwise. It's just like, okay.
And then the story kind of ends on a bittersweet note where Sam walks Frodo to his essentially final rest, where he's going to go across to the Western Isles, right?
Yeah, and Gandalf is going to, and that's when Gandalf returns the one ring that he had, one of the elven rings.
Right.
In the appendices, I think the appendices are really interesting, actually. It's one of the better things, like the history of Gondor.
Okay, I'll make you a deal right now. We don't talk about the appendices today, but when we do the recap, I will read them for that.
Okay.
Is that a deal?
Fine. We can make that deal. I was just going to say that there's some really, like, the history of Gondor is a really interesting one.
Like, there's a lot.
Why they were in the problem that they were in.
I also think it's funny there's a glossary in here.
The appendices I think are underrated. That's all.
I mean, we're talking like 120 pages of appendices. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah. Because it adds so much context that is.
So does the Silmarillion, and I read that.
I have yet to read it. I haven't.
I don't recommend anybody read the Silmarillion. I don't think it's worth reading. Anyway. I probably just pissed off a whole bunch of Tolkien lovers.
I think you did. I think you did there, Chris. I think they wish you were shell-shocked into not saying that.
Anyway, so what's your favorite part in this book?
The first book.
wait. Oh,
no, like, honestly, I love the way the book talks about Gondor. Honestly, like I love the movie, right? Because the battle is epic to watch, all of that. But the extra world building that is in the book, the context of what is Gondor, I would have rather have had that than the debate on, should we light the beacons? Little thing, because the other prince is important. His character is like kind of holds shit together when Faramir's injured, right?
He does. I
think he's the biggest missing character. Like, if there was one thing I could add to the movie, it's like you should have made him a person.
I agree, 100%. Like, he should have been in the movie at least a little bit.
And he's like this character. So you have Aragorn and you have Faramir, right? Boromir was. We were saying Boromir's on the level, but he really wasn't on the same level as Faramir, even, because Faramir really epitomizes what was the old men of Gondor, in a sense, just in how the wisdom with the capability. So you have those between Faramir and Aragorn, you have them, but it's also like they're more rough in a
Mhm.
sense because they're always out on the front. Whereas with this prince, you get this other character who shows like the regalness as well because he's a knight. You know what I mean? Like he's described as the knight in shining armor. He is basically the epitome of the noble Gondorian too. So just from a different image, and I think that would have been a cool thing to see in the movie.
Absolutely, yeah, that would have been cool. My personal favorite part in this book is probably probably Saruman calling himself Sharky. No, I'm just kidding. Probably Gimli retelling the entire tale of the Path of the Dead. I thought that was
That was pretty good. That was good. Yeah,
that was really cool, and though his storytelling just makes it even better because Gimli's storytelling is awesome.
mm-hmm.
And I did listen to the Andy Serkis version of the audiobook for that, and he does a really good Gimli. But
I mean, his voice, yeah. I gotta say, Legolas is maybe the most boring character of the Fellowship.
Well, and after fighting like God knows how many orcs, how does he only have 40 kills? No.
No, but it's like Legolas might have like the least amount of character development in that entire story.
That's probably true. That is probably true.
Because he doesn't really talk much.
No, he does not. That is true as well. What would you say is the weakest part of this story?
You already know my answer to this, but it's
I feel like Tolkien takes 10 years to wrap this story up.
It's the weakest part of the story is how long he goes way too much into describing what hell is in the sense of Mordor for Sam and Frodo's journey.
Absolutely. It takes forever.
It feels like it takes forever because it's a lot like, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's everything I hated about Two Towers' portion of Sam and Frodo when they're in the desolate, rocky mountain portion. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. No,
So the way that their Two Towers POV starts off being real trash, it's exactly that, but for the entire book without the the extras that make it worth reading, where they start describing that whole other portion of Gondor on the other side of the river, you know, and then meeting Faramir and all of the stuff that happens there, just character development, world building. It doesn't have any of that really. It just has that tedious grind through like punishment on them, and they're whiny. They're too damn whiny.
I would say everything that happens in between them getting the orc line until they get to Mount Doom is like just the slowest, whiniest part of the entire story. And I just took me forever.
You know, I would have been happy if he summarized it just a little bit. You know, like, in after 2 more days of grueling garbage, like
after like doing summary, you know, summarizing like every battle in these books, he spends like 4 chapters letting Sam and Frodo find their way to Mount Doom. Like, oh my gosh.
Hey man, that's what most of his war experience was. Okay, a short battle, a lot of shit in the dirt and mud. Okay,
that's probably true.
That's probably he was writing personal experience.
He was writing from personal experience of war. Yeah. That is a fact. That is a fact.
I mean, you can kind of see it where it's like the barbed wire concept of the plants that grow in Mordor.
Yeah.
Like, he's just writing what No Man's Land was like. And it's just like, I get it. I'm sure it was shit. But damn, can we summarize No Man's Land just a little bit?
Nope. Can't do that. Just a little bit. What would you say is the biggest takeaway from this book?
That's hard, man.
I would say
I mean,
even in the moments of greatest despair, there should always be something to strive or hope for.
I mean,
Like, don't give up.
I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, it's right there, like how he writes what the shell shock concept into the book. It's one of those things where it's like fear is the bigger enemy. Like the lack of hope is the enemy.
fear is the mind killer. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean it kind of is, but when you look at it the way he writes it, right? There's so many soldiers that they die because like the Nazgul inspired just so much fear in them that they stop fighting and then they get overwhelmed because they're trying to retreat instead of hold the line. So there's a lot of that concept, right? As long as you hold the line, as long as you persevere and you just keep grinding in a sense towards like with hope in your mind, you can still come through it is basically the message. But the second you just surrender to fear, you're probably dying.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I definitely think that fear is the tool of the enemy. Mm-hmm. Whatever your enemy may be, fear is that tool. Like if you fear something, you're far less likely to fight it. So fear is a very strong tool for those that wield it. And the point, I think, is that the moment you give up your fear and you fight through it, you can accomplish almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like fear of death is one of the most powerful tools, and most people can't.
He also has that part at the end where it's like, just because you're ignorant of evil doesn't mean that evil is ignorant of you. Is basically
like evil could show up on your doorstep at any time.
Yeah,
even if you ignore it until it's there, it could show up at any time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and like the hobbits are kind of just like low. Yeah, the hobbits are just like kind of low key playing society, but there's like, oh yeah, we have a police. But they actually.
How did you feel about Frodo sparing Saruman?
I mean, I don't really think it mattered much, but
I mean, he shows him mercy. It's almost worse for Saruman because now he has to live.
Yeah.
He has to live with the fact that even in the terrible things he did, he was shown mercy, which he absolutely cannot fathom. It almost hurts him to his core to be shown that mercy.
Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't understand it. But
he can't process it. He doesn't understand it, yeah.
And then Wormtongue just knifes him.
Green as Wormtongue. Yeah. I like it, but I don't. Like, I like the movie, the way they handle it with Grima, just like turning on him the second he gets a chance. They both fall off the tower. Like, it's such a lazy end to Saruman, but at the same time,
but there's no way. Let's be honest. There's no way you could have done that ending in the movie.
It would have added so much more to. You could almost make a movie of the Shire and what's happening during Return of the King as its own thing.
Okay, I will say this though. In the movies, there is kind of a little bit of a gap, I guess, like a whole plot hole, because when they're being shown the future in the little basin by Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
They see the Shire in chains and shit, and it's like, remember that?
I didn't remember that, but I'm going to have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, she like shows like, oh, this is what's going to happen type of thing in the movie.
I gotta go find that now. I'm going to definitely have to go watch it again.
I think that's the thing that Frodo sees, if I'm not mistaken. But like,
you're probably right.
So they like hint to the Sharky thing, but with it never occurs. So it's kind of like diminishes Galadriel's future telling.
Yeah, I gotta go back and watch
it. Yeah, I think it's more of a threat of if they are not successful is how they play it off, but it's also basically the Sharky plotline.
All right, what was it? What else we need to talk about here?
Merry and Pippin are legends. and
Yes,
probably the true heroes of the entire story.
Well, and what's funny is at the last chapter, the hobbits don't recognize the heroship of Frodo, and to a lesser extent, they kind of shrug off Sam. But Merry and Pippin, they're like, Merry and Pippin, woo!
Yeah, the true heroes, man.
Because they saved the Shire, That's the whole reason
hey,
they like
but
them.
they're also like knights in good standing of the Rohirrim and Gondor.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
they're really just casually called away. Sam's daughter is just turned into a perpetual little maiden of the queen because she'll never grow tall enough to not be a maiden. So,
there is like an extended ending of this book that doesn't end with Sam just saying, well, I'm back. Apparently the original ending was that Sam's family grows up and they do like they add on like a whole lifetime of Sam to the book almost.
It's in the appendices, I think.
I think it is, yeah, but that was the original ending.
They have it where well, also because he sprinkles the gold dust from the elves all over the place.
Yeah.
That year of all the babies basically are blondies.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Yeah, so it's like blonde is a rare color for hobbits.
Except when
Sam not this year's births. It's like, okay.
Really, what
Sam
did
just
was
over here playing eugenics on the hobbits. We're going to turn them into little elves. They're going to be little blonde elves now.
Blonde elves with they got blue eyes
fat
too.
Bellies.
They got blue eyes too. Blue eyes. I wonder what he was trying to say with that. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's just funny. Sam becomes the mayor for
If you could direct the next Lord of the Rings movies,
oh gosh,
what would you do different than Peter Jackson? I know you want to add extra characters. Do you want to add extra characters? Yep.
Yeah, I would add the extra character, the prince, man. I would make
people suffer through all of the Sam and Frodo parts. See an hour cut of them scrambling through Mordor.
Oh my gosh! If you actually took the amount of time, this would be the joke movie. This would be its own little teaser thing. It's only released on Netflix, as a joke. Only the real fans.
The Snyder cut.
Yeah, only the real fans will watch this extra film, and it's literally just the two actors of Sam and Frodo just struggle busing through a molten shit zone for 3 days, 4 days, or whatever. You'll take the actual timeline and all the shit they had to go through that he writes in this book and just make it real time, and it's just 3 hours long of them just whining through the and it's just a parody. It's a shit parody movie. I would do that. That would be fun. They're just nonstop.
Just call the movie make it one of those indie films and call it The Hobbits in Mordor.
Yeah, and it's just so true to the writing that it's atrociously comical.
You just spend 20 the first 20 minutes are Frodo and Sam slowly not being able to walk and start crawling, and they're crawling and burning their hands and crawling and burning their hands. Then they go and drink water from a black sludge fountain. It tastes so good.
No, that would be the parody one. But in all
Master
honesty,
Frodo, I think this is orc piss.
Honestly, you need a scary movie parody of their journey through Mordor. That would be so good. But
the whole time Sam just keeps saying, the whole time Sam's just I'm not gay, I promise.
I'm not gay, but I'll carry you, Mr. Frodo.
Let me share the load.
Mr. Frodo, I'll let you ride me the rest of the way.
No. Don't go too far with this. Anyway,
no. In all seriousness, I would have added the expansion of what Gondor is. I think that would have
absolutely, yeah.
Because it seems weird that Gondor appears as if it's just Minas Tirith and Osgiliath, whereas Rohan is like way more than that.
I don't like the change that Peter Jackson made to the Army of the Dead. I kind of like Aragorn releasing them on the ships, and then they take the ships as reinforcements instead of the Army of the Dead. Because that makes more sense.
In general, I think I would have been. I would want him to. If you were redoing it, I would want him to be a little bit more true to the first book of the Return of the King.
Yeah.
Just because I think that it is very well written.
I think the whole book is well written, and we're kind of, piece parting, picking on different parts.
No. We're picking up on book 2.
Right, but what I'm saying is I think the whole book is actually very good.
Yes, I do. Okay,
even with all of my qualms, I think the book is very good.
I just think Frodo and Sam are whiny little.
It's hard to read that, but I think that's part of the point. I think the point is like your reading is almost like feeling.
You're not meant to like their journey. You're not meant to like them. It's understandable why it's written that way, but it's also
like an impossible task.
Yeah, it's also fun to shit on them for being the biggest whiny babies on the planet.
But to be fair, if you were in that situation,
I mean, if I was just burning my hands and my feet the whole time, I'd be bitching too. It's fine. Yeah. There'd be way more explicitives, The profanity scale would be way higher. Sam's just more wholesome. Sam would just be, he's just too kind to swear with the same profanity that I would be.
I don't know which would be worse, being Frodo or being Sam.
Ooh, it'd be worse being Sam because you have to deal with Frodo.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's like the worst bodyguard job you could ever have. Let's be honest.
You're a little guy guarding another little guy in a place where everybody's big.
You're just slightly fatter. Smeagol makes fun of your weight the entire time.
I know the fat.
I'm big boned, man. Come on. But yeah, it really though. To add on to what you said with how the book gets rid of the Army of the Dead, I think that the thing that's really one of the things that is missing in that movie though is the importance of those ships and their actual impact on Gondor, because in the movie it's just like, oh crap, there's more people showing up. We can't handle more people. Whereas the real problem is that it's a diversionary thing that's preventing the allies that are stationed at the riverside city from coming to their aid. And that's like a huge number of soldiers. You know what I mean?
It'd be very helpful for either side, depending on how that goes.
Right. So I don't feel like the stakes in that are truly conveyed in the movie.
No, they're not, because they just kind of show up and get off the ship, and they kill them, and then what they really do is they take the Army of the Dead to Gondor and finish the battle. And I'm like, so that didn't happen in the book. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Army of the Dead is actually used negatively in the movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't like it compared to the book version. Now that
the
you
book version
makes
more sense.
The book version makes a lot more sense. It would have been a better battle scene without the Army of the Dead, but it kind of is just like a savior moment. They're trying to make a savior moment out of Aragorn. So,
well, every moment of Aragorn is a hero shot.
It is. It truly is. But
right,
is there anything else that you can think of?
I think we've covered everything. We did the summary. We talked about life lessons and things to take away, the favorite part, the worst part, how we would do the movie. I can't think of anything we missed. I almost wish the appendices was its own standalone book that you could reference while you're reading.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea, but it's more of a histories thing. That's what's weird about the appendices. It's not.
It's like a pseudo Silmarillion.
Yeah, kind of. It's really good,
although
though.
less narrative
Read
based.
it
So the
for the next one.
Silmarillion is like a Middle Earth Bible almost. It's like the Old Testament of the Middle Earth Bible, whereas the appendices are snippets of things that J.R. Tolkien thought, hey, let's just throw this in there for people so they can find out more stuff.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean,
it's not the Bible like the Silmarillion is.
there's a couple of appendices that I didn't read because they were totally worthless, like the calendar. There's one about the calendar.
The Hobbit calendar, yeah.
Yeah, I give zero craps about the Hobbit calendar. I'm sorry.
I mean, he invented a living, breathing world. Like, there is something to be said for what he was able to.
I'll be completely honest, though. The appendice about the dwarves is great.
Okay.
And I wish that was its own show. Just
the dwarves, huh?
Just the
but
dwarves.
The appendices are the rings of power, my friend. You're gonna like.
I'm just saying, if Amazon had wanted to make a good show, they would have taken the appendice about the dwarves, right? When they just go hammer as hard as they can against the orcs, like blood feud shit. Like, yeah, I think that would have been a great TV series.
Yeah, probably. So on that note, nobody should ever watch The Rings of Power. Just don't do it. Don't suffer through that. It's terrible.
There's so
although
many
Andrew and Will might do it again to actually cover it. We'll see.
Maybe we might. The first season was so bad.
I just still can't believe they had Galadriel walking. I watched the scene because I couldn't believe they actually did it. Had her walking away from lava.
Who the actor for Sauron is. Yeah.
He was probably like, I don't want to be associated with this.
It's interesting. But I think
what are you gonna rate this book?
Oh, yeah, rating it. Oh, that's hard, man. What did we rate Two Towers? I forgot.
4 or 5, I don't remember, but we can obviously, rescind our ratings for the total.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta give it a 4.
Oh man,
I gotta give it a 4. It's not better than Two Towers. I think
compared to literature in general, this is 4.
Oh yeah, compared to literature in general, it's easily a 4. It's easily 4 or 5. I'm just like, I'm giving it a 4 because I'm thinking of it in regard to other
Tolkien's works.
Yeah, it's hard for me to just view it as a standalone because you have to read the other ones to get to it.
Because like the Lord of the Rings, the trilogy is a 5. It's a 5.
Yeah, I mean, okay. If I had to, that's the trilogy. It's a 5. Even like if I had to break down the books within it, what were there? 2 books or 3? I can't remember. In the inside of the Return of the King.
Return of the Kings, they're all 2 books. Fellowship's 2.
They're all 2 books?
Two Towers is 2. Okay.
Well, easily if I could break it into halves, it's like first one's an easy 5. The second one is like maybe 3.5, 4.
But the book as a whole is a 4. I would give it a 4.
The book as a whole is a 4, yeah.
But if it was like, okay, I'm placing this against, I don't know, Aragon, it's a clear 5.
I mean, yes, compared to everything else in the genre, it's a 5. So it's just not.
It's not the best one in the trilogy. It's not the best one in the trilogy. But it is better than 99% of fantasy literature.
That is true. I do think that overall it's maybe better than The Fellowship.
I don't know. I like the Fellowship's slow though. Like Tom Bombadil did not need 4 chapters.
Well, we should save it for the next episode. But I was going to say that the ending to The Fellowship is way too much of a slowdown after Moria. Doesn't
Tom Bombadil show back up in this book?
No.
I swear they mentioned Tom Bombadil.
They talk about him because someone's going to go visit him.
Oh, okay. Because I swore Tom Bombadil was in here.
Gandalf is going to go visit him.
That's right. That's right.
Because he's learned things.
Bombadil.
He's finally ready to talk about certain things with Tommy Boy.
With Tommy Boy. All right.
And that's when he says that the hobbits have to complete the rest of the journey on their own.
That's right. Yep. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, I think versus the other two books, if you include the Hobbit, the other 3 books in Lord of the Rings, this is a 4. If you have to compare it to all of fantasy literature, it's a 5.
Easily, yeah.
End of story on that one.
End of story.
So what are we doing next, Andrew? Are we doing Stoics next, or are we doing the recap?
No, we're just gonna do our next episode will be the recap. We'll do the recap.
Well, then that might be next week. We'll see. We'll look at our schedules, but it could be next week, or it could be 3 months from now.
We'll do the recap where we look at the whole trilogy together. So
all right, sounds good.
And you can finally read the appendices.
Yeah.
I just don't think you'll finish the other book in time for the next episode.
How long is the other one? Letters of Stoic.
Letters from a Stoic. It's like 300 something.
I don't think it'll take me that long to read it.
They're relatively fast, but
okay. As always, though, I am Chris,
and I'm Andrew,
and I'm Will, and we will see you
on the next Printed and Pressed.
Bye, guys.